Hi, I'm so glad to be here. But why did you have to bring Winter back? Why? I never bring a coat. The last 2 times I've come, I needed a coat. Just all of a sudden, the temperature's plunging, and so I freeze. But but I'm really good. I'm happy to be here, and to talk about something that's very close to my heart. Putting emotion in your writing is critical. It's critical because if you don't engage the reader, they're not gonna buy your books. So you have to do that, and so we're going to talk a little bit about how, and it's something that I never really knew that I realized that I did. It's instinctively with me. But then when people started asking, how did you do this? Then I had to start trying to figure it out. What I did, who knows? But it's been a journey, just figuring out how my brain works. So I encourage questions, but please speak loudly because I'm kind of deaf. So anyway, and I'm trying out these new hearing aids, so hopefully they work. My sister Jan took a writing course in the Dallas area, and the professor, when he came into the class, he said, "What does everyone want? What does every single person on the planet want? Only one. You can't pick several. So, do you want fancy cars, luxurious homes, lots of money? Those would be nice. But every person wants to feel. If you don't, you're dead. So you want to experience what you read. You want to experience life. It's just instinctive in us to want that, and it doesn't matter if you write nonfiction or fiction. It's all the same. You have to figure out how to make a reader care, how to care about what you've written. So anyway, so they just want to feel. Emotion anchors us to life, connects us to this inner core inside us that we all have, and everyone is different. It's kind of like a fingerprint. It's all kind of different. So emotion stems from your darkest fears: buried rage, injustice, deepest longings, secrets, passion, wrong decision that cost you. Emotion is the key that unlocks everything. It unlocks all those things inside us: the past, the present, even the future. So you want to feel, you want to be so close to your characters, immerse yourself in them, where you feel their breath inside you. You feel their longings, and you know their secrets. You become the character, and you feel exactly what they do. When I'm writing, I use a lot of Kleenex. I cry, I laugh, in this last book, I wrote a talking parrot, and there was many times I had to just stop and just laugh. What he said was so funny because he could say things my characters couldn't. They couldn't get by with it. But, so there was a great revise, and I put it in. Well, I was talking to Dee Burks. She's come to Texas High Plains. I still call it PPW. But I told her, this book is too dark. I need something to lighten it. And she said, how about a talking parrot? And in the Old West, that would be so unusual. And so I grabbed that idea and ran with it. And so this parrot is quite hilarious. And but use whatever you have to use to make a reader feel. They have to feel something. And so it's nice when they laugh, when they cry, when they get anxious at the suspense. They don't know what's fixing to happen. And so emotion doesn't come until you do. It comes from you, but you insert it into your characters. You have to know your characters' darkest fears, their secrets, what they whisper to you at night when you're asleep. They whisper. And I never do character studies. I've just never liked that process because it's fake. It doesn't come from me. It comes from something that I feel like I have to have. I let the character tell me as I go. I learn. I don't think you really fully know a character until you start writing, until you get into their minds and they connect with you. So I just have always thought character studies were a waste of time for me, but maybe not for everyone. This process is different for each writer. And if you like it, that's the way you want to do your books, just keep doing it. Whatever you want that makes your story come. So, how do we make a reader care? It's a combination. It's not one magic bullet. It's a lot of different things. It comes from good basics, active verbs, words that tell stories, that show pictures. And I have this really good book that I bought a long time ago when I first started writing. It was called Word Painting. And it talks about how to draw pictures with words and how to make every word count. It's really good, and I can't remember the author's name, but it was real good. And I don't read a lot of self-help books because it makes me feel like I don't know enough. Like I'm stupid. So I don't read self-help books. I'm terrible. But I'm sure there's things in it I need, but I don't want to feel like I'm stupid. You cut the dead wood, and you avoid passive writing, words that tell us nothing. Make everything clear, where the reader doesn't have to guess what's happening because you make it really clear to them. And then strong hooks. Strong hooks at the end of chapters, scenes, keep a reader interested. They've got to know what's happening next. They can't wait. So the theme, like finding a place to belong, or searching for peace, or struggling for to buy some land, and land is so important to people back in the 1800s. It made them feel like they were important to own some land. So themes are good to help, and okay. Conflict. You got to have good conflict. Things that are not misunderstandings. It can be, well, a character needs to struggle with something inner, and then something he's struggling to do, or something he's trying to accomplish. The deepest hurts are a wellspring of emotion. A wounded character is so, it releases so much emotion. You care about this character. You want to know what happens. He's a good guy. He's just in a bad situation, and or he's struggling against injustice, or maybe somebody's trying to take his land, or but to get a character to the point where he releases his emotions about, it takes being brave. You have to be brave, and you have to recognize that to lose, if he loses, it's going to be devastating. And may even lose his life, or so, you know, you want to, so conflict is an interior war, something that you struggle with. And then here's my alcoholic kitty. So he's got it bad. He's in bad shape. He spilled his drink. So he is struggling with his shortcoming. Yeah, and so it comes from defeat. You don't want a character to always win, or at least not the first time. He has to lose to learn, to get stronger, to get more determined that he's just going to not give up and keep trying. So so to lift a character high, they must sink very low. And the lower you can put them, the better, because the stakes are so high. If he loses, then it will be all gone and everything. So he, you keep upping the stakes, and Taylor was so good at that. And downright, I'm going to talk about that a lot, but he kept upping the stakes with every defeat, every trial, and he had that suspense just stretched like a rubber band. And so you have to keep up in the stakes. You have to test your character. You have to torment. Throw everything you have at this character, and don't be afraid. Beginning writers are always afraid to hurt their characters. They don't want to hurt them. They don't want anything bad to happen. But if you want an interesting story, you've got to. You have to do that, and you have to bring them to their lowest point. And then you can start the combat to where they have what they need to accomplish their goal. A healing journey really resonates with readers. They all want this character to heal, to stitch his wound and succeed. So you want to give them that, and something similar, to where they'll root for your character every step of the way. Don't whine. It's hard. All of this is hard. It's not easy. You have to make your characters hurt. You have to make them bleed. You have to you do it. The deeper the problem, the more heightened the emotion becomes, and you just have so much to work for and to work with. I mean, and it's sometimes your story will branch off from how you thought when you reach a point like this, and just go with it because it's your inner voice telling you you're on the right path, and the rewards are so great when you tap into that emotion. You just have to feel. You have to feel what your characters are feeling. you have to feel their breath inside you, and it's just, I don't know. It's really hard to explain, and which is why I've never attempted it before. But it's something that I instinctively do, and not that I'm bragging or anything. It's just I feel deeply. Maybe too much, but anyway, yeah, you want to, okay, so when the character is at the very lowest, what is the next thing? What is the first thing that they do? And that will determine the path that they've taken. And let's see. I've lost my notes. Oh my God. I'm such a terrible. So emotion, yeah, it's finding the right blend between drama and reality. You want it to be familiar. Maybe a reader is going through the same thing. Maybe you just have to you have to find a blend between. Okay, don't override. Don't go that way. Find a middle ground between this life and your character's life. And it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. And but you make them so likable. Change comes when staying in a certain situation becomes more painful than something new. That's when change comes. When they're so uncomfortable, or they just can't continue on that way. That's when they decide they have to change. And so then the healing comes, the solutions to all the problems. And you want your characters, make them messy. We're messy. We don't ever know. Sometimes whether we're coming or going, we're race around, and but you want your characters real. You want them to come alive on the page for the reader, and you want to be successful. You want your character to be successful and to find what he's searching for. My emotional triggers are children and animals. They just melt my heart. You have to know your emotional triggers too. I love to write about children, and I have them in just about every book. And I recently finished a story that I wrote about these sisters open an orphanage, and these children are so heartbroken. Their parents died in an epidemic, and so they're so heartbroken. And then mysterious gifts start appearing on the steps. And first it was a puppy, and then I think it was a chicken, and they needed eggs. So that different things appear, whatever they needed appeared, and the children all said, God did it. God's leaving these. It's God. And so, and nothing will persuade them differently. So, they bring out so much emotion in a story, and that's one reason I really like using children, and along with bad guys and everything else, but and they can bring out they can deepen a character too. There's in that story there's a guy, a mysterious guy, really wounded, and they don't know who he is. He won't say his name, so that's a big mystery. Anyway, you use whatever you need. You use for your story or for nonfiction. You do the same thing. You have to. You do just like you do for fiction. Good verbs, eliminate passive writing. You just have to make the reader care. So I'm going to read a passage, and this will show kind of what I'm talking about. I'm better showing than telling. I need my glasses. I'm so professional. This is a fireside chat, but we don't have the fire. We could use a fire. Yeah. Okay, so the setup for this, this is from the Malortified Secret, and this gunslinger becomes the guardian of 3 small children of his sisters after she was murdered. And then the same people come and they take this, well, 2 of their twin boys, they're about 9 years old, and then their baby sister is 4. And this bad guy comes and takes the baby because he is trying to hurt the hero because he hates him so much. So, okay, Kern, who is the bad guy, was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded and gave the order to bring Becky out. Several moments later, the door opened and Becky slowly climbed down the steps. Tate's heart twisted at the sight. Dirt covered her from head to toe, and tears created muddy rivers down her cheeks. She ran toward him, tripped and sprawled head first. Tate tried to go to her, but was held fast. Becky picked herself up and stumbled the rest of the way, wrapping her arms around his legs. Even from there, he could smell the urine where she'd gone in her clothes. Rage went through him that they had no decency to let her use the pot. Go home, you go home, Becky cried. Tate gave the men holding him an icy glare, his voice hard. Turn me loose. Now, when they did, he picked Becky up and held her tightly. He struggled for a bit of composure before speaking. Honey, you're going to go home with Uncle Jack. He's going to take you to Melly and the boys. No, you go too. I can't. There's something. His voice broke. Something I have to do here. He tried to hand her to Jack, but she clung to his neck, sobbing. Take her, Jack. Ride out and don't try to save me. I've given my word. He's traded himself for the baby, even though he knows he's going to be killed. Come on, honey. Jack took Becky and set her on his horse. He swung around to Behringer. I'm coming back after his body and killing anyone in my way. He clasped Tate's hand. I'll see you on the other side, brother. It's been a good ride, Tate managed, his tongue thick, no regrets. So this shows that the child, and she loves him so much, and he's come to love her, and then risking himself, he knows they're not going to let him live, but it was the only way to save her. So that's how I did it in that one. So, does anybody have any questions or comments or?
Do you think, like, your triggers are kids and animals? Do they allow your characters to sort of be more emotional?
Yes.
Because I'm thinking about the ones that I write, but, you know, this stoical cowboy, you wouldn't know that about him without the little girl there. You wouldn't know those things.
Yeah, well, he talks to his friends about that. There's a discussion that he has to trade himself because they don't see any way of these bad people are in this canyon-like place, and there's no way to go in without getting caught. So. Yeah, but she brings out a ton of emotion in everyone. She's such a sweet kid.
But it probably doesn't choke up the facing a bad guy without a 4-year-old. And it wasn't in that scene. Listening to you read it was like it wasn't her crying. It was when he choked up that I went.
Yeah. I had a time writing it. I really did, and it comes to a point you have to stop for a minute, and because you got to wipe your eyes or something, or swallow or something. This next bit is from A Man of Legend. This is my brand new one. It's about a woman who's a nurse, and she goes to work on this ranch. They need someone to patch up wounded, and I think from what everything that I've read, ranches had medical people, either a nurse or a doctor or, so she goes to work on this ranch, and there's this one cowboy. He's 20-something, 22, I think, years old, and he's broken his back. And she really struggles. And then, but meeting him for the first time was really emotional. And so she has just given him a dose of medicine. He's bedridden, and he thanks her. And she says, I do this only for my most handsome patients. She got her stethoscope out and listened to his heart, then took his blood pressure. Except for it being high, everything was normal. But she knew pain could raise the level. Your heart is strong. You're lucky that you're young, in good shape. That helps. Guess so. I started weaning myself off that medicine because I hate the way it makes me sleep all the time. Dallin scrubbed his face with his hands and ran his fingers through his blonde hair, standing head on end. I only take it when the pain gnaws at me like a starved badger. How long ago did you suffer this injury? His gaze went to a clock on a chest of drawers at the foot of his bed. My mind is kind of fuzzy sometimes, but I remember that day like it just happened. It's been 3 months, 27 days, and 7 hours. He laid an arm across his forehead. The sky was so beautiful that morning. Yeah, so blue it hurt a little to look at it. I was bursting with happiness because my girl met me at the corrals and I kissed her. She smelled of cinnamon. He jarred himself. Sorry, some things a man can't forget. So true, she said. Some things stay in a person's head forever and there's nothing you can do. Her words were quiet and she wasn't sure she meant Dallin or herself. No, ma'am. Paisley put her stethoscope away. Let's get you fresh sheets. He winked and grinned. After that, we'll run away and go live on love. The soft, teasing words brought tears to her eyes, and she turned away for a moment. Sure, but I have to be back by bedtime, or I'll turn into a nasty old crone with crooked fingers and a dastardly laugh. Paisley pulled the sheet back and saw his thin, atrophied legs. Dallin was wasted away, dying a little more each day. At only 22, he had already lived his best life. An ache formed around her heart. She couldn't let him go on like this without doing everything in her power to give him a more productive life. She had discussed it with the doctor. She does. She works with him, and she finds out that his back's not really broken. That the trauma happened so close to the spinal cord that it paralyzed his legs. And so she keeps working and working. She doesn't give up on him, and he doesn't give up on himself. So
you know, that was really emotional and beautiful. But one of the things that really struck me was how you used the countdown of the months and the days and the hour I mean, that spoke volumes to me as
Uh-huh.
to how
Mhm.
people felt about all this. That really struck me.
Oh, yeah.
You
Well,
know?
thank you.
I mean,
Thank
the
you.
whole passage was beautiful, but
Uh-huh.
I love the way that you use that.
Well,
You're giving me ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of the way I do it. I know I haven't explained this very well. No. But,
But you didn't just come out and say, he's counting down.
Right.
no.
To his.
No.
Yeah, so.
Right.
You showed us, not told us.
Yeah. But a person so wounded would know every minute, because it's so long when you're bedridden and there's nothing for you to do. And so she gets him a puppy, and he loves it. And then they rig up a device to help him from the bed to a chair, and that was the first step.
Wow.
So, even though this is the 1800s, some of the medical people knew things that they needed to do to bring these people back and their patients and to make them have a good life again. And then in this book, there's a parrot. This is the one with the parrot. So, there's humor, and I think a really good book needs a wide variety of emotion, different types, different muted colors and bright colors, and so it kind of goes with my second talk, coloring outside the lines. But emotion isn't for sissies. It's not. And I know men struggle with emotion. It's hard for them. I think it's much easier for women because we're used to feelings. We feel everything. So it's just really hard. But
So you've spoken a lot to the love part of creating the affection and the rooting for the character. But I noticed your title of your talk was Love 'em or Hate 'em. Can you talk about how to make the reader hate or be angry for the character?
okay, it's okay for them to, and they need to. They're just like us. Sometimes they throw tantrums, well, not tantrums, but they throw things or kick things or confront. When it gets to the point, you just, like in that town, one of those old westerns, I don't know, the town was so scared of everything, and this bad guy kept, and so this stranger came and they tried to get him, but it was the town that they had to get a backbone, and so sometimes a character's not strong enough to confront at first, and so they may stew about it, they may talk to their friends about it, and then confront. But usually there is a confrontation, and that usually doesn't end well for the bad, you know. So, so, yeah. Beautiful writing comes It comes when you open your hearts, when you open your minds, when you connect with your characters so deeply. And it just brings out beautiful writing. And but that connection has to be there. My readers, reviews, in the reviews I get, they always say, I felt like I was right there. I was right there. I was the person. I felt like I was inside that person. And if a reader gets so deeply invested in a story to where it seems more like a memory to them instead of a book, that is masterful writing. I don't know if I've ever been to that point. I don't know. But some books, some writers have. But what a character does differently when he's at the lowest is a catalyst that pushes him up, pushes him up the mountain, and gives him the strength.
I was wondering, and I don't remember the title of the book, Eric.
Oh,
I was wondering if you made a person or something else the evil, the bad. Is there a bad person in it, or
yes.
Or is there something else that's?
I always have bad people in my books.
Really? They're bad.
They're bad.
Maybe you might
Sorry.
make the bad entry the evil or the bad character that the people were.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of evil. Yeah. But yeah, and that helps to bring out the difference, the contrast between good and evil. And sometimes good doesn't always win, but you sure try. And maybe the win comes in a different way than what you figured that it would, or what you kind of thought.
Talking about your characters are messy and have flaws, they're not all perfect, and you're good guys. What do your bad guys, are they always totally bad, or do they have something about them you might could like and understand?
There's some that have been just beyond redemption, but then I have written others. I show them with animals how kind they are, or children, or, you know, and kind of give them some good. And then there was, there's a couple of bad guys that I redeemed, and they became good citizens. So yeah, it just depends, yeah. But just like that, there are some people that are so cold and so cut off from themselves, I think, and they can't think of any good. They just want to destroy. They want to take a gun and shoot up a supermarket or something. I don't know what makes people.
With the bad guys, you were talking about, ratcheting up,
Yes.
for the good. Do you suggest, or do you think it's a good idea with your bad guy to have him kind of start off small and then just kind of get worse, or is it okay to just right off the bat, he is beyond redemption?
Well, it's up to your story, whatever your story is.
So
Some-
it's okay if the character
Oh,
starts
yeah.
off like.
I know,
Batman
yeah.
and just,
Yeah, and there's some that dogs snarl at in the first chapter. Dogs snarl. They know what people are like. So yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and I know in Taylor's book, Downrange, which I'm going to talk about the next, but his dad people, you didn't really get the full depth of, they kind of hid their evilness a little bit until later, and then, yeah.
I kind of like it when they do that.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So you always strive for reality. You want to make your stories believable, and reality does it better than anything. Truth is stranger than fiction, and so much of it lately, nearly every time I turn on the news, my goodness, something else. But yeah, it's just it really is hard to start with, but once you get used to it, used to doing these things, it just kind of comes easier. Or easier, so yeah.
You were talking about upping the stakes, we have test and torment, transform. Do you kind of show like each little test, transformation, or is it test, and then at the end, kind of the overall transformation? Working transformation in, or just kind of wait and show from the beginning at the end?
Well, the transformation will be after, at the end of the book, usually there's the test, and maybe he passes one, then he has another test, he fails that one, and it's kind of like a wave, kind of.
So you don't
Kind of like waves.
incrementally transform until you're there. It's more
Right.
and then overall you transform.
Yeah. Overall, and the character learns how to heal his wounds, or let other people help. Yeah.
One point, what's the character do differently? Usually that happens. There's
Something they do
Or
different.
You would have reacted like this. You would have done this, you would have done this, and continue to get the same results. But there's a point. There is a goal. Whether she writes romance, so he's got to change. He's got to behave differently, or he's not going to get the girl, or he's not going to get the ranch,
Right,
or
right.
he's got to decide. Do I want the ranch or do I want the girl?
Yeah, and in this book, they're having a feud. Her parents are feuding with his, so that added a complication. Lots of conflict. So, yeah. And they knew each other as children, but then they separated, went their different ways, and now they've come back together again and trying to decide if they still have that love or not, or if it's gone. But both are willing to try. So,
Okay, does anybody else have any more questions about emotion in your writing? No? Okay. So we're talking about a lot of raffle things this week. Lots of donated items.
Okay. So do you remember when you were kids and you just scribbled and you got onto my goodness, you were told, don't get outside the lines. Don't do that. And then Picasso came along. He stretched the lines. He didn't have any lines. To color outside the lines, well, first, Donna Moss. Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
When you fall back on what's easy and safe, you'll stay earthbound. You won't go. You won't fly. You won't do anything. You'll stay right here. To color outside the lines takes courage, enormous amount of courage and risk. Just to grab your crayons and color your story any way you want. You can put oranges with reds and yellows with blues and, well, all different colors. So anyway, you have to have courage just to forget everything you were taught. You need to make your story as whatever colors you want, and not have voices in your head saying don't. But the payoffs when you just follow your heart and follow your instincts, and the payoffs are so big, and you have to be bold. You have to listen to your inner voice, and you have to trust yourself to think new ideas and new ways of doing things. You have to give yourself permission, and just go with it. It takes courage to be you instead of being one of the crowd. Everyone's doing this way, and you want to do something different. It takes courage to say, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I want. You can't chase the trends or the markets, because as sure as you do, by the time you get your book written, it's all changed anyway. It's all different, and you can't write like someone else. You can only write the way you do. A lot of people say, oh, Joe over there is real successful. I wanna write like that, and so they try. They may try, but it's not going to work because it won't be them. It won't be yourself. So you just have to go with your instincts and create your stories the way you want. It's writing something that you want to say, something that matters to you, terrifies, outrages, inspires, hurts and heals, among other things. You have to engage on new emotional levels. Color in the shades that you want. Remember Picasso, and be a Picasso, and maybe, and you can say, when you finish, you can just be so proud. This is what I did. Stop writing the way you think you're supposed to. and start writing from your heart. Silence the voices and listen to the voice inside you that tells you what colors to use. Only then will you become the writer that you want to be. And that's such an amazing place to be when you become who you really want to be, and say something that matters to you. If you follow the norm, okay, let's see. If you have to be fresh, be authentic, be you, twist and blend and color in the shades that you want. As a kid, I used to, I liked the finger painting, and you use your hands, no brushes, just whatever you can make with your hands. And so I really liked doing that, and probably didn't look too good, but that was fun. And so you stay true. You have to stay true to your inner compass, and just color, blend, twist it, make it the way you want. So it challenges you to take a journey unlike any that you've ever taken before. And you find a part of yourself that was buried deep inside that you didn't even know was there. These journeys are so fulfilling. And nothing else compares to just doing, to just create what you want, what inspires you, what matters to you, what speaks to your heart or churns in your gut. Those are the things that need to come out, and it brings emotion with it. So this is really part 2 of emotion. So, so let's see what's in next. Take your favorite kind of fiction is a way to begin. Your favorite kind of fiction and narrow it to one single element. Something that speaks to you. It could be a superhero, orphans, all right, orphans. Outlaws are a band of cowboys. A person stranded on an iceberg. Then totally reverse it and see what you get. And you may be surprised when you reverse that element, and when you twist it and bend it and shape it differently from everyone else's. I just love to create, and I always wished I could have been a painter, but painting wasn't in my future, so and singing sure wasn't. So no singing or anything. Coloring outside the lines boldly challenges you. And it says, oh, so you want to do this. Okay, so can you really? And what else do you want to do? And you take a journey, ultimately, that leads back to you. And you find amazing things inside you. It might be the naked truth that you buried, some hurt you couldn't face. When I was 18, I made a wrong decision. We all do, as kids, as young adults. But it still haunts. It still does, and there's nothing I can do. It's too late. You take this journey, and it's very freeing. I've forgiven, and you just forgive. You forgive and go on. Writing is a catharsis that releases everything inside you, plus it humanizes your character. Throw away the rules, silence the voices. Rich, moving, and surprising fiction emerges, or writing, nonfiction also. It can be rich and full of depth and original. It's you, it's authentic. So, you see up there, I know that a lot of people have read this book probably here. That's why I chose it. It's such an amazing book too. But Taylor colored outside the lines when he added all of these different elements to his story. He focused on family ties, which was totally outside the thriller world. They usually don't. The normal thrillers don't usually even mention family, or if they do, it's just in passing. Taylor's book embraced family and created conflict from it, and added depth to his story. He implemented Western elements, the horses. That was totally different. And then he used Western phrases, a lot of Western phrases that in a thriller, normal ones don't. He incorporated the Panhandle history, the Comanches, and children in peril. He had a very unique setting in the Panhandle. It's just so different from everywhere else, and it really made the book so deep. And in the small town, most thrillers happen in Paris or Rome or some of those huge places, at least the ones that I've read. So small towns was unique. And then mix in an evil group of people trying to ruin and take over. So he added all of these elements and combined them in such a way that riveted the reader. It is amazing. It really was. But he said from the start that he wanted to write a story that mattered. One, that readers would care about the people. And he had something to say. So I really applaud him. He's my hero. Now I'm going to talk about where the crawdads sing. I don't know if anybody here has been huge literary #1 for weeks and weeks and weeks, and now they're making a movie. And it comes out in July, and I can't wait. But that story combined child abandonment. This little girl was 6 years old, and all of her family left their home. They lived in the marsh, in the swamps, and she had to learn how to survive by herself, alone. No one could help. She faced social injustice, and just survival. She had to learn to cook for herself. She knew about the marsh. She knew about what was good to eat from the land, things that grew in the marsh. And she had to rely on self-reliance. Nature was so important in this story because her knowledge of it really helped. It has a mystery and suspense. She was an outcast. So this author, Delia Owens, combined all of these elements, and she colored her story in such a way that it really took over the literary world, and it's really one of the best books I've ever read. And at the top of my list of favorites used to be To Kill a Mockingbird. But this one has toppled that. I mean, now that's moved down to second, so at least on my list. Another book, another example, and probably a few of you know about this book or read it, but it's called The Book Woman by Kim Richardson. And it's set during the Depression in Kentucky. And she incorporated history. President Roosevelt really, he implemented this program for real. That wasn't fiction, but where he got this group of horseback librarians to take books into way back in the hills and to people so they could read. And then she incorporated these blue-skinned people. That's a fact. They did exist. And the main character she has blue skin, and she faces such prejudice. And but she wants to do this, and blue-skinned people were not allowed to look at you directly in the face. You had to keep your eyes lowered. You had to not touch anybody because they thought it would bring you bad luck or death. Some people thought it would bring death. So this author combined all of those, and then there was the element of starvation and these children who didn't have anything to eat. So and the prejudice was so much worse for these blue-skinned people than it was for the blacks. And she found this baby, a blue-skinned baby, and she hid it and raised this kid so they wouldn't kill it. So, let's see. Jody Thomas has such a gift that, and I am so, I don't know how she does it, but she can have you laughing at something funny. She writes a lot of humor, but she can have you laughing, and then in the very next line, you have a lump in your throat. I don't know how she does it. It's such a gift, but she definitely colors outside the lines, and she follows her gut. She follows no rules, just writes what's inside her and what she wants to say, what matters. You have to write something that matters to you. And a lot of people have said, why don't you write a story about, I don't know, politics? And that's not in me. I could never write a story about, if it doesn't come from me, if somebody just says, you need to write this, I just laugh. So, thanks, but no thanks. So you make your story one that no one has read before, but something that can relate to. It's real. It's a real problem. It's a real situation. And you get your colors out, and you take your piece of paper, and you just go. And kind of like finger painting, and just twist those colors, and make your story a Picasso. So that's about it. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Well, I don't know what time it is.
It's about 11:45.
Oh, okay.
Early on, when you were talking about coloring outside of the lines and all that, and just thinking about someone that I used to write with, who would tell great stories, but the mechanics weren't there. So I think one of the things that we have to be so I'm getting from you is write your story, write authentic, but you still have to do it well. You still have to avoid your passive verbs.
Right,
eliminate
right.
the stuff that doesn't
Yes,
work.
you still, yes.
You can be true to yourself without,
Um,
having just word salad on the page. It's one of your favorite words.
So you talk about Picasso. If you look at very early Picasso, he could paint very realistic, beautiful
yeah.
portraits. So it's not like he skipped
Um,
and just went to doing stuff. He had a skill level that was very high to start with before he ventured out.
So kind of knowing the mechanics and the basics, and then knowing that as your base, and then building your voice on top of it.
You don't go out and draw stick
Yes.
figures and then go, I'm drawing outside the lines. No one wants to buy your stick figure.
And I'm sure people laughed at him and made fun when he started painting that way. So, yeah. I'm sure, and you might face ridicule. You might have people say, "This is weird." I don't know, but stay true to yourself. Stay true, and remember the basics. Some of the rules, maybe, if they suit. So anyway.
I have a question since Taylor's here. Well, because you did set it, not your thriller, not in the big city, and you did use Western-isms or Western phrases. Did the powers that be try and dissuade you from that, or was that something that was really a big draw for your book?
They liked it.
They liked it.
Yeah, they liked it, and I think they liked it because it was different. And I have to give the credit to my agent. He's the one. I was writing a traditional spy thriller when I got my agent, and I had this side character, Garrett Cole, who was from Canadian, Texas, and this ranch. He's like, "That's your guy. That's your protagonist. Why don't you bring him back and have him do something here domestically?" And that's why I always laughed. I was like, "Nah, I can't do that. I can't do that." It's like, you got something there. And at one point, I even tried to change Garrett a little bit. He hated it. It didn't work. So it's a funny thing how that happens. But when he pitched it to, ultimately to who became my editor and publisher, they loved the idea. They loved the concept. And I think, going back to, everything that Linda said today, I could just get up and give this PowerPoint the same. It's everything she said is as true for her as it's true for me. But back on the last thing that we were talking about is that sort of establishing the true writing principles, those never go away. But all those things in Downrange were my own boys. They're what I grew up with. I grew up on Farming Ranch in Texas, and I went off to the CIA, and I worked with the military, and I'm the oil and gas line man up. So I just pulled in all those elements that were true for me, but they're very foreign to everyone else. And so all these New Yorkers up in the reading this lightning, and it's interesting to them. But I think for her, I had all the basics there, because Linda, and Jody were such good mentors to me. They helped establish me as a good writer, and then all that interesting stuff and coloring outside of the lines. I colored outside of the lines within that structure that made a good story. So yeah, I don't know, that's probably a long-winded way of answering that, but just real quick too, it reminds me when we're talking about this. If you look at David Chase and Vince Gilligan, who did The Sopranos and Breaking Bad. They started off just writing regular scripted TV stuff, like the basics. They didn't start with an anti-hero that became extremely famous. They started off with the basics. So for everyone, get those basics down, but I think that's the coloring outside the lines is what sets it apart. So does that all sound?
I think so. Yeah, I think you got it. Yeah, definitely. You did it very well.
The boot camp that we're doing, he actually said the other day, learn how to write well before you throw it all out the window.
Oh.
Like y'all are saying. Learn it before you deviate.
You can't color outside the line, there's no line.
So, well, I have some books, my last series, and then I have a couple from the Outlaw book I read. If anybody wants them, they're $6. So, and I want to get a copy of the new anthology. I need to get. Okay.
Any more questions? No? You're ready to draw for the raffle?
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.